For the first four races of the season, Clayton McLeod was the point leader. But over the last two rounds, the Canadian has given way to the Aussie, Joseph Fabian. As the second half of the season gets underway, will those two continue to battle amongst themselves, or will Spain throw its hat into the ring as last round winner Antonio Preveda is closing the gap to the frontrunners in a hurry? From Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, it's the San Marino Grand Prix Round 7 of the Batteries Not Included Premier Season Championship. And you can see all the simulated William action from Green Flag to Victory Donuts live as it happens right here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hello, and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. Samuel Ryman is at his sister's wedding today. Congratulations to the newlyweds. So filling in for the bride's brother is yours truly, Bill Soupzon, joined on the microphone to bring you our Words Eye View by Johan Vandenveld. Sean Ambrose is the director, armed with cameras locked and loaded by Dougie Beard. Okay, last round. The Circuit of the Americas frightened away many drivers as only 12 braved the American road course. Johan, as we move closer to the spookiest square on the calendar, how scary is Imola?
Well, there used to be a time not so long ago that this track, Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari, was one of the scariest around. It was conceived in 1953 and the original configuration was truly temple of speed. The whole section between turn 15 Rivazza and turn 7 Tosa used to be flat out with no chicanes whatsoever. Now, throughout the years, Imola has seen quite a few layout modifications. Virtually all of these were added to improve the safety at the venue. The last adaptation came in 2007, resulting in a 4.9 kilometer version of Imola we'll see the drivers race on today. And normally, we take a look quickly at how the FW31 fared in real life on the track, but the last race at this Italian track was a few years too early, in 2006. This race, however, featured an amazing battle between Michael Schumacher and Fernando Alonso, and we'll find out in a minute if again a Spanish driver will fight for the top step of the podium here. But first, let's hop on board our own GSRC FW31 for a lap around Imola.
All right, we've got Clayton McLeod in the GSRC Williams, so let's do a lap around Imola. It's a very fast run down to Tamburello, so you can expect most pass attempts to be done here in the braking. With the immense downforce of an F1 car, the third apex in the chicane doesn't mean as much, so it's all about launching yourself off the second one. That sends us on the run down to Villeneuve, which is going to be incredibly tricky to try to overtake into. You brake very, very late into this second chicane, plus it's smarter to keep yourself safe from surprise attacks into Tosa by getting a good exit. But then you've got the tricky climb out of this hairpin. Avoiding wheel spin will be critical, but it's also a super steep climb up to the next corner, so don't hesitate too much on the power. Piratella is next, and it's surprisingly tough to hit this apex. You've got very little time to relax, because as we duck down into the valley, we've got the finicky braking for Acqua Minerale. The key here is not running too wide on the second apex, because you'll be given a slowdown penalty if you abuse the track limits. Then, it's a rush up to another place you tend to see passes, the Alta Chicane. Try to stay off those monster curbs on the inside, because the car will almost certainly loop around if you hit them. Once again, be confident on the power, and we'll drop an elevation for the last time on the lap. Rivazza is another place where overtakes are possible, but the braking can easily be overcooked. You only get a tiny squirt of power before the second part of the corner, which is definitely the most important exit on the track. It leads onto the front stretch, which is the longest acceleration zone of the circuit. If you can stay close behind, you could even get a slipstream to help with a pass. But hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Imola.
The dulcet tones of Joe Peak and the whine of the Williams engines as we take a lap around Imola. All right, now let's take a lap around the point standings. Hey, the GSRC stat boys, Simon and Poindexter, have been busy as the graphics you see here reflect two of the four available drop rounds. To put it simply, this is a driver's best 4 of 6 results. The stat boys will continue to ease in one more drop race over the next 2 rounds. That way, the viewer, you, will have a clear picture of the point battle going into the closing part of the season. The number by the droplet indicates the driver's largest drop result. Now, as talked about in the opening, Joseph Fabian and Clayton McLeod have been at the top all season. The Australian has 2 wins and the Canadian only 1. But coming on strong is Antonio Ortiz Proveda. AOP is coming off a win at COTA, up 3 spots and looking for more. The American Michael Overbay dropped to 4th, still looking for his first podium. Floris Bashar has missed 2 events, and he's not here today because he doesn't feel well. Floris, feel better soon. But no worries, because there are not just only 2 drop races that he'll get to use, but now he can use a 3rd one for his 3rd missed race. He rounds out the podium down there in 5th. All right, we've talked about the points. Now let's go ahead and let Johan talk about something a little less complicated, maybe. How about the race details?
We'll see about that. This is round 7 of the batteries not included championship. 12 races will feature this season, and as Bill just explained, there's 4 drop weeks. The race today, however, 41 laps, 41 times these drivers will lap around Imola, and the setups are open. That means that they can change all the knobs, turns, wings, whatever they want to make the car just to their liking. The drivers also have a 67% fuel tank. That means that it's slightly smaller than normal, and each driver has to make at least 1 pit stop to have enough fuel to make it to the end. There's no incident cap in this championship, but the admins will keep a look on it. If drivers are abusing the incident limit, there will be penalties. And the points will be by official iRacing points. So how more good drivers with a high I rating are joining in the session, how more points will be awarded. Well, the strength of field today is over 2,400, so it will be a nice amount of points if you win here at Imola today.
Johan, we talked about Proveda coming off a win last round, and then of course Fabian and McLeod. But you mentioned that there's the presence of one driver that could make this a little more interesting today.
Yeah, Scott Newton. We've seen the driver one time earlier this season, and well, he joined once and he won once. So that's really one of the drivers that we have to keep an eye on today. The Australian really having a good track record so far this season. He hasn't set a qualifying time, however, today. But yeah, that's one of the drivers I'll be keeping my eye on today. One of the drivers that I won't be keeping my eye on today probably is Joseph Fabian. We were talking about him earlier, that he has grabbed the championship lead. He has been very strong so far this season, but the Australian is struggling with connection issues, and it might be that he will not be able to race with us today.
Yeah, we talked about what went on in practice. Newton was second, but yeah, Joseph Fabian, while his name is on the entry list, he was not able to put it to practice time. He's still got a little bit while to get that sorted out, but one would think if he doesn't have it figured out by now, not a good sign. But we talked about it before. There are drop rounds, so he can just chalk this one up. He's got some cushion.
Exactly, that's true, and I hope for him that the problems are resolved and he can join us today. In the meantime, though, looking at qualifying, Clemens Model is currently our pole sitter so far. The driver has done a 120.1, but he's deposed from there. Antonio Ortiz Proveda, the really quick Spanish driver, set a 119.5. He's currently on the pole position.
Clemens Model in the second position. That's a name I'm not familiar with. Going to take a look at the stats here. See if he's been racing with us this season. No, I don't. Oh, there he is. Yes, he's made 3 starts. Well, he's up at doing really well, sitting up there in second position right now, tentatively on the outside of row 1.
Yeah, well, there's still a few drivers that have to set a lap time, including Scott Newton. He's coming out of the last corner now, over start-finish line. Let's see where he brings his car after one flying lap. He sets a 119.2, immediately going to first place. Scott Newton really putting the hammer down 3 times quicker than Antonio Ortiz Proveda. Ooh, he immediately loses it there in turn 2. Go through the gravel and tows his car, but that's P1 for now for Scott Newton.
That's all right. The damage was done. 14 drivers have put in their qualifying time. Now here comes Model again. He's still actually looking for his first top 10 this season, so qualifying very, very well.
Yeah, he's looking good so far, especially the last time he just went over start finish at 120.0, just really sharpening. Didn't win the position with that, but just slightly gaining and making that time a little bit better. We're on board now with Antonio Ortiz Poveda. This is for the middle section, Aqua Minerale, up towards the Variante Alta. Only 1/3 of a lap left to go. Now he has to win 0.3 of a second to beat Scott Newton for that pole position. Last time around, Antonio Ortiz Poveda had an off track, so he didn't set a lap time. Looks like he is currently also not on a quick lap yet, still on an out lap, I think. Yeah, setting himself up now for a good exit here out of Rivazza, having a lot of speed, taking a lot of speed with him here. Wide line as well over the start-finish straight, just to have a little bit more momentum while you go over start-finish straight, because those few kilometers an hour that you win by doing so might win you a lot of time at the end of a lap.
Last round, it was a bit of a small field. Today, we have about 20 names on the entry list. That's a good-sized field for this track. 15 have been able to put in qualifying times. There are still 5 trying to get in time. Well, maybe only 3, as Tyler Korn, again, Joshua Fabian may not be racing with us.
One new driver in the field is Michael Havlidaisen, the driver from Sweden, is currently sitting in P15 out there. He's only had 1 qualifying lap. He actually goes for a little spin in Variante Tumbarello. Keep it off the track. Yeah, he just spins it around and tries to continue with only 3.5 minutes to go. He will have another chance to set a lap time there. But that's a new name that we see out there today in the Batteries Not Included Championship.
But a name that we're familiar with here on GSRC, as Havlidaisen races over there in a series that Johan is very familiar with, that Absolute Beginner League.
Antonio Ortiz Poveda is on the quick lap at the moment, going over the start-finish line now. Let's see if he can find that 0.3 of a second he's been searching for. Well, he finds 2 of those tenths. Still 1/10 short to beat Scott Newton, but with a 1:19.3, he distanced himself for P3 a little bit more, which is Daniel Bucher. Daniel Bucher coming over start-finish line at the moment as well. Let's see if he improves his time. He actually does! Daniel puts himself on pole with a 1:18.9. And that's a name that flew a little bit under the radar, Bill.
Absolutely. Look at that. That moves Newton into the outside of row 2. Poveda now going to be inside of row... Newton on the outside of row 1. Poveda inside of row 2. That time of Clemens Medell hanging in there, though, as he's sitting in 4th.
Yeah, you were saying he's searching for his first top 10 position. Well, with a starting position in P4, he's really setting himself up for a good result here in Imola.
Okay, Johan, we're looking at the weather, though. How do you think that's going to play out for the track?
Well, it's good weather for the virtual spectators today. Partly cloudy, 26 degrees Celsius, 78 degrees air temperature, 86 Fahrenheit. That's 30 degrees Celsius ambient or track temperature. I actually think that this is quite average. There's not a lot of strong wind, as you can see. Northern wind, very light. I think that the drivers will have probably gotten used in their practice to these track temperatures. It's not particularly warm or cold. It's not something that you will need to spend a lot of time with to get used to. And I think that this is something that the drivers will not have to worry about today.
We're riding with Johnny Bell. He currently sits 16th in the points. Now we'll go and kind of look at Lurcher here. Daniel sitting in 7th position, hoping to better that one.
He doesn't have to improve a lot on his time to gain a position. He's only 1.5 hundredths of a second behind Michael A. Overbay, coming on over the start-finish line here, keeping it close, tucked towards the pit wall. He actually goes quite a bit quicker. 5th place for Daniel Lurcher, who won 20.1.
Lurcher coming off his best result of the season, the 7th last time out. Granted, the field was small, but nevertheless, the 7th is the 7th. You talked to there, Scott Newton still trying to improve a little bit. He's got to pick it up by about 0.3 of a second if he can get to Bucher. You know, we talked about Daniel, a name we didn't know. I believe this is his actually first race, as looking at the stats.
Well, that's actually a great way to introduce yourself to a new series with a lap time like that. Scott Newton just going very wide. I think it was on the exit of Variante Villeneuve. I think he might have gotten an off track there. He's still going strong though, so let's see if he actually got enough track or if he can complete his lap time. Clayton McLeod, we're currently on board with him. Well, let's see what the Canadian is. He's currently only sitting in P11. Our ex-championship leader, P12 now, as Michael Hovlidason just brought himself to P11. So Clayton McLeod having to fight his way forward in the race.
Oh, you know what? Our director had him for a little while. I saw Joseph Fabian made it on the track, but then did he blink away or is he still out there? Director, did he blink away on you? Yeah, he's still... That's too bad. He was actually on the track trying to put in a lap. We were on him for just a minute, and then he blinked away, still having that connection problems.
And he actually just mentioned it in the chat as well, that this is race over for him, and the connection issues sent him out of the race today. Scott Newton coming off the start-finish line with a 190.1. He was 1/10 of a second, but still 2/10 short to get the pole position away from Daniel Bucher.
Joseph Fabian. Well, when you live on the wrong side of the globe, sometimes connection problems is an issue, but not for Scott Newton, his country mate, able to get that working. Qualifying just about done. We have 16 drivers who were able to put in time. I think the most shocking thing that I'm looking out there is Clayton McLeod way down in 12th.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have expected the Canadian to be a little bit more forward up the field, but it didn't seem like he could make it stick. But we've seen this before from the Canadian, this championship, and every time he is able to work himself forward during the race. So let's see if he can make that happen today here at Imola.
Along with Joseph Fabian and Tyler Gore, that I don't think are going to be racing with us, Dave Peterson and Jerry Furholkolb did fail to put in qualifying times. I think we're just about wrapped up here. I'm going to think we're going to have a grid of 16 when this is all said and done. And with that done, let's go ahead and look at the grid. Since it's a standing start, I'll take the first 8. We'll leave the back half for Johan there. Daniel Bucher on the pole. He's going to be inside of Scott Newton. Antonio Poveda in the 3rd position, flanked by Clemens Modell. Daniel Lerkner in 5th. Thomas Ziegler outside of him. Aitor Galido in the 7th position. Michael Overbay, the American, in 8th. Johan?
Yeah, the California of Christian Kabanga starts the race in P9, and next to him, Stefan Henkel. Michael Haflidason debuts his race in P11, and next to him, Clayton McLeod. Reed Miller starts on the inside of row 7. Next to him, Johnny Bell. Sam Winton starts in 15th position, and he's being flanked by Jay Friels. And there's 4 drivers that haven't set a qualifying time. Joseph Fabian in P17. Behind him, Dave Peterson, Jerry Furkolb, and Tyler Gore in P20.
Peterson is out there, as is Furkolb. So we're going to have a field of 18, I believe. Oh, and Tyler Gore is going to join us as well. So let's call it 19. Round number 7 here in the batteries not included. I did one of these events previously a few rounds ago when I was subbing for Sam, and I did not understand the meaning of batteries not included. It is a very catchy title there as we hear the engines beginning to whine. Waiting. Oh, that's just somebody warming up because we are still waiting for our driver in 2nd to go out there to get Scott Newton on the grid. Just to follow up on batteries not included, that's because there's no fancy little KERS system in these machines. They don't have to worry about all that battery stuff going on. Daniel Bucher on the pole. Scott Newton, Poveda, and Modell make up your first 2 rows. Everybody waiting patiently. So we're ready to get the second half of the season underway. You can hear those Williams engines start to whine. Gather at the chickens, take covering on the cows because the horses are out of the barn. A bit of a slow start from Bucher, but he's going to be able to hang on. Poveda drops into 2nd. Modell, Newton, and Lerker round out your top 5.
Scott Newton had a horrible start, was overtaken left and right, only managed to consolidate himself to P4, however. But yeah, that start from Antonio Ortiz Poveda, almost getting P1 from Daniel Bucher, Didn't manage to stick. Oh, almost Daniel Bucher losing it there on the exit of Tosa. Antonio cannot profit from that yet.
The entire field makes it through. Reed Miller loses a spot to Michael Overbay. They continue to fight side by side. The only cars that are not single file right now. It looks like Overbay's going to get the best of that. Miller drops down into 12th as they work their way through the back half of the court.
Clemens Models finding a little bit of extra speed. He's putting pressure now as well. Antonio Ortiz Perfeda as they go through the Variante Alta. Good exit is required here to try and move towards Rivazza. Very difficult corner. All the cars are quite close together, especially Clemens Model. Antonio Ortiz Perfeda going a little bit wide. Clemens Model can set himself up now for a good exit here. Doesn't make it stick though, because this is probably one of the best overtaking maneuvers. A very long straight until you have the hard braking for the Variante Tamburello.
Coming across the line for the first time, Bucher is credited with leading lap number 1. There is a challenge for second, though. Here comes the... Oh, he cannot get it done. That was a dive down there from Modell. He's going to lose the spot now to Newton.
I just see this Galindo gets hit by Christian Kabanga, I think. Yeah, Christian Kabanga trying to overtake, outbrake himself in the Variante Tamburello. Spun himself around, got hit by Aitor, and Aitor in his turn got concertinaed by Michael Havliday.
That's exactly what happened.
Luckily all the drivers can continue here. Great overtake from Christian though. Using the draft to make that overtake stick. But just under braking, too much speed into the Tamburello corner. Spins it around, gets hit. And you can see the black car of Aitor getting hit as well by Michael Havliday.
As we come back live, the front four begin to distance themselves from the rest of the field. Daniel Lerkner doing a good job trying to hang in there, but the real battle is for fourth. And here comes another tech, Scott Newton. After that horrible start, Johan, Scott trying to get those spots back. I think he's got a chance at it. He's going to have to wait.
Yeah, well, the car in front of him, of Clemens Model, had a very bad corner exit though. That gives Scott Newton the opportunity to already make the overtake over the start-finish line. But this might hurt Scott Newton a little bit because he doesn't have the draft to get the really overdrive. Oh, look at Clemens Model just really gaining speed as they go towards the Tamburello corner. Maybe lighter fuel load with some different gearing. Anyway, Scott Newton not able to make the move stick here in Tamburello corner. At the same time, Daniel Bucher is really running away at the moment. The gap between him and the rest is over 3 seconds now. Antonio Ortiz Perfeda cannot follow.
Yeah, I think you made a great point about the setup there. Newton got alongside of Modell, and then the car just would not go straight line speed. I don't think it's anything to do with damage. I think gearing or that certainly could be something. Look back here at Reed Miller and Clayton McLeod. McLeod trying to make up for that horrible qualifying. He's up 2 spots in 10th.
Yeah, Clayton McLeod, like we said before, he qualified a little bit poorly, but he's fighting his way forward now, putting pressure on Reed Miller, braking very hard, winning a few car lengths actually here in the Variante Alta. It's not only Reed Miller he's battling with, it's also Michael Overbay in front of the pair, not that far in front of them as well. In the meantime, we've seen a few pit stops. Jay Friels had a spin in lap 1, had to make a pit stop and still the pairing damage. Same with Aitor Sintes Galindo, who's still sitting in the pits. Christian Kabanga, after his spin, also went into his pit crew, but he's out again, driving around at P17.
Of course, we're looking at 1 stop. Some of those drivers are making those early stops. You can't forget about them. Keep an eye on them for the rest of the race. All this going on behind the leader that's running away with it. Scott Newton once again trying one more time.
Clemens Model has really been put under pressure. You mentioned before, no top 10 yet, but he's now fighting for podium position with one of the race victors earlier in the season. He's doing everything a little bit wider on the exit of Toaster. That gives opportunity here in Aqua Minerale on the outside. It's not making it work. Scott Newton opts out of that. Single file once again as they go through the exit that was Variante Alta. But you can see Scott Newton is trying to find a way past Clemens Model as soon as possible, because he knows that with every lap he stays behind him, Daniel Bucher is just driving away. The gap between Scott and Daniel at the moment is almost 6 seconds.
Checking in on 8th position. It's a 3-car battle. They're kind of nicely spaced apart, though. It's Overbay, Reed Miller, Clayton McLeod back there, the fourth car in line, Stefan Henkel. You know, you were talking about that Model Newton battle. Maybe we can go to it again back up to third, as this is really where the action is. Newton's car is clearly faster through the technical sections, as he is right on his tail through here. Trying everything to get through it in the parts where the passing is the hardest. Right around the outside.
Ooh,
And there you go.
Yeah, but it almost seems like Model was driving at 102% to try and keep Scott Newton behind, and he just loses control in Tosa. Loses 2 positions as well, because Daniel Lerchner gets him here on the outside of Tosa. Still side by side when they go to Aqua Mineral. This is very difficult. Clemens Model stays in front, however, there's only 1 position lost. Clemens Model losing quite a bit of time there with that hot spin.
Great recovery from Model, though, as he gets in there. Now there's a 3-car battle for that with Lerchner and Hofladezen. Hofladezen having a good run, up 5 spots in the 6th.
Yeah, almost under a blanket, the 3 of them here. I can almost show who as there's Lerchner going very wide there in Rivazza. The exit though, Michael Hofladezen cannot profit from the jet, but with this long run towards the Tamburello corner, you can use the draft to inch closer to the competitor in front of you. Clemens Model is a little bit of a sitting duck. And you can see Lerchner just getting closer and closer. Not close enough, however, as they go braking for the Tamburello chicane.
Yeah, we'll see how Daniel Lerchner does on Model compared to what Newton had to do. I want to give you an interval. Poveda between 2nd and 3rd is 1.9 seconds. Now that Newton is clear of Model, maybe Scott can start running down the guys up in front. Meanwhile, the best battle on the track, we are looking at it. Don't forget about Thomas Ziegler back there in 7th on the gearbox of Michael Hofladezen.
I would almost say he is in the popcorn position, but it seems like Hofladezen is falling back a little bit, especially in the beginning part, the first sector of the circuit. Hofladezen cannot follow the speed that Lerchner and Model are showing out there. It seems like Model on his turn. Ooh, as Michael Hofladezen cuts the course there. Brakes too late for the Variant Auto. That's a corner cut penalty. And Thomas Ziegler gets by him towards P6.
We'll take a look at that replay. And once again, we've seen the pass made not from the driver making the pass, but the driver in front making the mistake. First was Model, and then now here's Hofladezen.
Yeah, just trying too late, maybe looking a little bit too far in front of him at the back of Daniel Lerchner, outbraking himself and just going across the grass, losing 1 position. And in the meantime, you could just see it on top of the screen while we were in the replay. Scott Newton set the quickest lap time of the race, 1:20.1. He's closing the gap hard to Antonio Ortiz Poveda. Over start finish line, there was only 1.4 seconds between the two. At the moment, it's only 1 second, Bill.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case, but the problem with Newton is the car is only quick in the parts where it's hard to pass. But he's running some good times as he continues to close on Poveda. All this going on behind our leader, who's about 2.3 seconds up on the driver in 2nd.
That gap has decreased quite a bit last time around as Daniel Bucher made a mistake. Normally he's doing low 21s, high 20s. Last time around only a 23.0 from Daniel Bucher. Lost almost 2 seconds to Antonio Ortiz Poveda. That really cuts the deficit in half in that battle for P1.
But I really think it's going to be Newton here coming up, although he's going to, once again, as he's on the straight, I'm just looking at the numbers to see if he loses time to Poveda. Doing a pretty good job, actually. Car probably in the tow. Now watch Newton as he will gain a ton of time through this twisty section. This is where his car is really good.
Yeah, it's almost like he set his car up for this part of the circuit. I have to say that speed difference that we saw between Clemens Model and Scott Newton, I'm not seeing that much between Antonio Ortiz Poveda. It almost seems like Antonio has kind of the same setup as Scott Newton, so that speed difference that we saw in the battle earlier is not really the case between the drivers in P2 and P3.
Newton a little aggressive through that last corner. The car got really sideways, and he lost about 0.7 of a second, so he's got more work to do.
In the meantime, Daniel Bucher is coming across the first lapped car. It is the car of Christian Cabanca. at the Variante Alta. Now with a lap time of only 1 minute 18, give or take, there will be quite a bit of traffic today. The next car of Tyler Gore only 20 seconds in front of him, so I expect in only a few laps Daniel Bucher will have traffic in front of him once again.
Let's go to fifth with that battle settling down. This is a good one. This is Lerchner and Ziegler. This used to be a 4-car battle. Remember, Model was in there, but Model's pulling away, and Hofladezen was in there as well. And Ziegler.
Yeah, almost twice, almost spinning. There was on the entry of Rivazza and on the exit of Rivazza, the car of Ziegler stepped away from him. He lost quite a bit of time. Look at the gap between the two. 3 seconds Thomas Ziegler lost there.
California driver, Kabanga coming in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at the lap time, how many laps we've done so far this race. We've only 9 laps in. I doubt this is an early pit stop, and as you can see, Christian Kabanga is disconnected. He's given up the spirit for today, and he's our second retiree after Jay Fields.
So Johan, help me out as my timing and scoring got a little squirrely on me there. Do we have a driver that has made a pit stop that looks like they might be somebody to keep an eye on, or are we still waiting for the big ones to come in?
Yeah, we're still waiting for the big ones to come in. We've seen Christian, of course, making a pit stop. We've seen Aitor Sintas Galindo, currently the driver in P18, which will very quickly be P17, who made a pit stop, but his pit stop was because of damage. And I think that the first pit stop for fuel still has to be made.
And we ride on board now. This is the one we've been looking at, Scott Newton. After that mistake, he fell back to about 1.5 second gap. He's knocked it down to about a half second go.
Michael Hofladezen just had a spin on the exit of Variante Alta, losing 4 positions in the process. Quite a bit of time. Yeah, that's a whole cackle of cars that got by him once he was turned around. The Swedish driver is currently only driving a P12. He was doing very well so far, working his way up to P7. As you can see here in the replay, just hitting the curb zone a little bit too hard, unsettles his car, loops it around, and on the left here, all the cars are going by. So that's the Michael Hofladezen relegating himself 5 positions. Peterson,
Henkel, Miller, and McLeod all got around him. Hey, let's look at this battle for. We're looking here at. Let's go to position real quick. We have a pass for position. This is going underneath. This is Stefan Henkel. Gets underneath Reed Miller. There we go. So Henkel now up into 9th, Miller back into 10th.
Behind him, we don't have to go to him, but Dave Peterson is quietly doing an impressive race. The guy started in P18, currently driving around at P11, making up 7 positions so far, and just by not making any mistakes, really profiting from the spins and other misfortunes of the drivers in front of him.
I expect Hofladezen, as that's who is chasing Peterson right now. I expect Hofladezen to be stronger the back half of the track. Johan, I'm not sure how much practice time Michael has in this car today.
We'll see. He has been quick at least. You could see that he is quick in this car, but maybe a lack of practice time, especially because it's the first time that we see him in this car, that might hurt him a little bit in the longer stints that he's doing. Yeah, he's doing a great run here in the draft. I think that Dave actually gives him the inside, says, go ahead, I think you're quicker, get the position back, and Michael Hofladezen elevates himself to P11.
Let's check back in on the battle for a second.
There's Tyler Gore in front of him, but lap traffic, and that actually bunches the two up to each other.
Boy, Newton is right there now. He's a car length back, and this is where he's really confident.
Antonio sliding there over the curb stones in Variante Alta. That hurt him. Good awareness from Scott Newton to avoid the Spanish driver's small mistake there in that chicane. And this is probably one of the best opportunities that Scott Newton has had so far this race. And a good exit, and he loops it around! Too greedy on the exit there. He keeps it out of the wall, but this loses him a lot of time. Clemens Motor will come here on the right, passing Scott Newton for P3. Let's see, Daniel Lerchner behind him also gets a position. I think he's a little too far behind. But Scott Newton losing his car, losing positions.
There's just the tail end of that spin. We'll see it one more time here.
Yeah,
That's Newton in the white car.
Yeah, he really had the speed. He was setting himself up for an overtake. He was not this close and just too greedy on the exit. Too much throttle. Great stuff for him. Very lucky to keep it out of the wall because that could have ruined his race. As it stands, he only lost one position. He just have to once again overtake Clemens Model for Q3.
Like Sisyphus on high heels, making that job a little harder than it needs to be. Good job again from Tyler Gore getting out of the way. Johan, we're going to look at 10th position. This is Henkel and Hofledaysen, ever. Hofledaysen just got around Peterson, and now he's coming up again.
Yeah, Hofledaysen was quicker than this whole group in front of him earlier, and he only relegated, lost a few positions because of that spin. He's putting the pressure now on Reed Miller. A lot cleaner through the Variante Alta. A little bit loose on exit there, a little wiggle. Just like Scott Newton did one lap ago. This is a really good run. When you try moving Rivazzi, he actually takes a look on the inside, but this is not a place where you want to make an overtake. You want to have a good exit here to try and move.
Let's look at Clayton McLeod. Just happened as I speak about. Go ahead, Johan, what do you got?
Yeah, Hofledaysen, as we could see on the screen, also loops it around just like Scott Newton did the lap before. Just too greedy on the exit and loses once again a few positions and a lot of time.
So 2 spins at the simultaneous as it got Michael Hofledaysen and the man second in points, Clayton McLeod. McLeod was in a great battle trying to run down, I believe it was Henkel in front of him, but now the spin drops him back into 10th position.
Yeah, and he's still just behind Stefan Henkel and Reed Miller, and that actually hurts him because now he has 2 cars right in front of him that he has to overtake, and he's probably quicker as well.
Yeah, I want to correct myself. That battle that he was trying to take, he was trying to get around Michael Overbay, who was in 7th, now racing all by himself. So the spin allowed Miller to go by and Henkel to go by, so now here comes McLeod trying to make up for it.
Let's just follow him here through the Variante Alta. Single foul once again towards Rivazzi. In the meantime, Scott Newton is closing the gap to Clemens Model as well. We don't have to go to it yet. Still quite a little gap between the two, but I think that Scott Newton will, within the lap, try and move on Clemens Model to get P3 back.
If you remember right, he got around him once already, but the only way he got around him was a mistake from Model.
And this time though, he's a lot closer, only 3 car lengths between him as they go through Tosa. This is the point where Clemens Model made a mistake earlier in the race. He almost does it again, both cars getting quite loose on the exit there. Towards Piratella.
Now we're looking at it.
Increased a little bit, yeah, we're looking at it.
Model in 3rd. I'm not. Maybe we're not looking at it. Can we? There we go. Now we got the driver. There's Model and Newton right behind him. Now this is the same story we saw before. We'll see what kind of run that Newton can get out of Rivazzi. See if he has anything for him down the straight, where most everyone is doing the passing. This will be interesting.
This is a scenario we saw a few laps ago. This time he keeps it clean, however, Scott Newton. He doesn't loop himself around, and that helps him. There's only 4 car lengths, but with the draft he can work his way forward. We saw it before in the race as well, Bill. But the top speed of Clemens Model is just unmatched by Scott Newton. He cannot find his way past the car in front of him here at Tamburello.
I think you made a great point. That's not something I saw when Newton was trying to run down Treveda. I just think that it's not so much Newton's car is slow down the straight, it's just that Model's car is really quick in a straight line.
Yeah, exactly, and he has to get it from the corners, tries a move here. Model gives him an incredible amount of space there in Tosa, but around the outside, Model keeps enough momentum to stay in front of the charging Newton.
This is such a fascinating battle because it is 2 different setups. Newton's car clearly quicker, not. Oh, there's a mistake from Scott.
Yeah, hitting the grass there on the left-hand side tires. Almost went straight there under braking, and that loses him quite a bit of time. But Model also makes a mistake there, slight mistake on the exit of Variante Alta. I think that just within a few laps, Scott Newton will be on the back of Clemens Model again. Yeah. Behind them, there's a battle heating up as well between Daniel Löchner and Thomas Sieger. Both cars currently driving where they started. But if Thomas Seeger has any say in it, he wants to reverse those positions as soon as possible. He's really putting the pressure on his Daniel Lurchner at the moment. On the exit here of Rivazza, he doesn't get a good, smooth enough exit to try and get close enough to try and move the Tamburello Bill.
Yeah, you can see Lurchner really stretching the gap as they start to go full throttle. Let's go ahead and stay on this for a minute. Get a little racing that we can look at so we don't jump around. We might miss a pass somewhere else, but it's fun to just see a driver work on the other one.
And
This has been the corner that has been trouble for so many drivers.
I just wanted to say I'm looking at the lap times at the moment, and Thomas Seeger seems to be a little bit more on the pace at the moment. He's being held up by Daniel. The quickest lap time of Thomas Seeger is 0.7 of a second quicker than Daniel's, which is an incredible amount. Might actually be that Thomas is running a little bit of less fuel. He's just not finding any space to get by him, and that's actually helping Daniel a lot, because after the pit stops, this will help Daniel a lot if it's indeed true that Thomas is running lighter fuel.
Lurchner seems to really be really good off the corner. Let's stay with these guys all the way down into the first corner, see if Ziegler can make the pass. I'll give you one more chance at it, Thomas, before we have to check back in on the battle for third. And boy, I just don't see it here as he's too far back and losing ground.
It's really on the exit, the first acceleration meters that you make as a car. That's where Daniel really makes the difference. He's just so quick there, and Thomas isn't as smooth. And in the braking areas, in the corners, he needs a little bit of time back. But it's in those areas of the track, on corner exit, where Daniel makes the difference at this moment.
Oh, look at this, the simultaneous spins. Go to the driver in 14th position. That would be Bell, either one of these. Johnny Bell would be great. This is a fun one. Talk about target fixation here on this one. These guys were in a battle for 14th position. They were a lap down. And this is you almost think there was oil on the track.
You almost would think so. Yeah, I think that Johnny Bell was just looking at the car in front of him. Sees his rival spin here at the exit of Tosa and just follows him. And Jerry Voorknop apologizes on the chat. I think that he actually has some suspension damage as he hit the wall. Johnny Bell can continue, but also is back to the pits.
All right, let's check in as we come back live on third position. Boy, he is right there. Newton is right there now. Close as he has been on the straight. If this car has any straight line speed, he's in the toe. There's the inside is open. Now let's see if the car can go. It's going to stop. Now it's up to Newton to do it under braking. He tries.
Oh,
Modell leaves a room and it gets loose.
Oh, hard in the wall, Clemens Modell. Oh.
That's the price you pay for being so fast. There's just not the downforce on that car.
I don't think he has any suspension damage. I just think it's front wing damage, but hard in the wall for Clemens Modell. He really tried to keep it side by side through Tamburello. If you go to a replay here, Clemens Modell immediately gets overtaken as well by Lurchner and Seeger. Tries to keep it side by side here, and just a little bit too much speed. His car gets very loose, twitches, and hard into the wall.
All right, so that moves Newton now back into sole possession of third place. Then you need to worry about 6.5 seconds behind Antonio Preveda.
I think that Clemens Modell will immediately make his... again, he is off the track, this time in Aqua Minerale on the exit. I think that his handling has gotten a knock after that spin. I think that he will immediately come back to the pits and ask his mechanics to repair that car, because he's losing a lot of time now driving the track.
Pit entrance cannot come soon enough for Clemens.
And heavy wing damage for Clemens Modell there. I think that he will go into the pits. And in the meantime, there's a really spicy battle forming for P8 at the moment.
Yeah,
That's Reed Miller. Yeah, he's being charged by Stefan Henkel, Clayton McLeod, and Dave Peterson. The guy with an incredible run so far, winning 7 positions since the start of the race. All the drivers within 2 seconds of each other.
Indeed, Clemens does come into pit lane. Monk pulls it into his box, but this is a good one going on. Now remember, McLeod's been pretty fast. He had a spin that moved him back a little bit.
Yeah, he was really up there at the beginning of the race. He started, of course, in P12, bad qualifying, but he was really fighting his way forward. But then that little spin cost him quite a bit of time, and he really has to find a way past Stefan Henkel and Reed Miller again to get back where he was. We see it before, for example, in the battle between Thomas Sieke and Daniel Lurchner, that it's incredibly difficult to make that overtaking maneuver stick. And even though Clayton McLeod seems a little bit quicker than the two drivers in front of him, he just cannot find a way past so far. In front of the Michael A. Overbay is driving. I have to say Michael Overbay is driving a little bit in no man's land. He is quite a gap to Reed Miller. 3 seconds while being 10 seconds behind Thomas Sieke. Because, as Stefan Henkel tries a move there on the entry of Rivasa, Clayton McLeod has to take avoidance maneuvers to avoid him there, almost bunching up into each other. We see a car coming in the pits. That's Reed Miller.
Tip of the hat to McLeod for really getting on the binders and not getting into the back of Henkel. You know, you talked about Overbay in 6. That was the driver that McLeod was battling with, so that's where he'd like to get up to. McLeod had to work his way around Peterson, now would like to get around Henkel if he could, and then take another shot at Overbay. The leaders of all the cars who have pitted, I guess, is Reed Miller, that we just talked about, who came in. As he's coming out now, the question is if he's going to get out in front of Modell. I guess he certainly is. Yeah, Modell just going across pit entrance right now.
I have to say, it's actually quite close. No, Modell stays in front.
He got him.
Yeah, he got him. Yeah, it's a very long pit exit, and it takes a very long time before you can finally go on the throttle again. And that hurts Reed Miller. So Kleines Model is the leader of all cars that have made a pit stop.
Your commentator misjudged the length of pit lane here and the location of the pit box for Miller, yeah. Now this is interesting as we look at Modell here. He's the last car on the lead lap. Right behind him, here comes our race leader.
Daniel Bourg doing a great job so far. 6 seconds in front of Antonio Ortiz Poveda.
And this is Sam. That was Sam Winston who had Winton who had a spin in front of him. All right, let some drivers coming in. I'd like to stay on this one a little bit longer, and let's see what our race leader can do with Modell, because
Sorry, is an overtaking maneuver of Michael Havlidezen on Dave Peterson. Great run from Havlidezen in Tosa corner, and he makes it take Dave Peterson, giving him a little bit of space. But great driving from the Scandinavian to put his car side by side, and he forces his way past and wins another position.
I think Michael Havlidezen has passed more cars on the track than anybody, but he's had such issues. Working his way back up to 7th again. He's got about 1.5 seconds to get to McLeod.
Stefan Henkel coming out of the pits in front of Reed Miller by quite a little margin as well. So the overcut strategy helped Stefan Henkel there to win a position on his rival.
Ziegler's in. The Henkel battle will be interesting because it was McLeod who was trying to get around him. So when Clayton finally decides to come in, it'll be interesting to see how that sorts itself out.
Absolutely. Well, Daniel Buchner is out again as well. The leader made his pit stop. He's currently coming out. Let's see where actually is. He's still driving around in P3, so he doesn't lose a lot of positions with making his pit stop. His two rivals, Scott Newton and Antonio Ortiz Poveda, are still out there, however.
Yeah. I think that pit stop was solely because he was coming on the back of Model. And Clemens was fast, and I think he'd have a hard time getting around him, so the leader decided to come in.
And you can see the problem with Scott Newton, who actually makes a pit stop now because he was this lap completely in traffic. He was stuck behind Stefan Henkel. He had to find a way around Reed Miller. And I think that has cost Scott Newton a little bit of time there because he had to fight his way through traffic.
Newton still looking for his box. As he finds it right now, we would think that Buchner is going to get clearly around.
Yeah, Scott Newton is still in his pit stop. Let's see while he gets rolling where Daniel Boeger is. Daniel Boeger will go past him, of course. Daniel's going over, start, finish straight as we speak. And Scott Newton is still to go side by side. No! And you can see that Scott Newton still has to wait a few more seconds before he can go full throttle again. So Daniel Boeger stays the leader of all cars who have made a pit stop. And even Clayton McLeod didn't make a pit stop yet, but he found his way past Scott Newton.
Other drivers up front that are making a stop. Hofladezens decided to come in.
Yeah, it's a good point in the middle. At the same time, P11, there's a battle heating up there. That's the one between... No, it's not really a battle at the moment. It's the one between Stefan Henkel and in front of him, Dave Peterson.
Yeah, I would think that'd be a better one.
Yeah, exactly. Dave Peterson have made his pit stop at the moment. I just want to say once again a great run from Dave Peterson out there. Started the race in P18, even though he made his pit stop so far, still driving out in P10. Well, with a few more drivers in front of him making pit stop, he will move his way up into the top 10. Great run for Dave out there.
As you look at Peterson, as he is very close to Henkel, remember these guys are racing McLeod, who's on the other side of the track. He was very close to these guys. That was that multi-car battle before McLeod decided to, well, I guess McLeod has not taken his pit stop yet. These guys have. So McLeod's out there hot lapping.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, Clayton McLeod is doing the same thing that we've seen countless of times other drivers doing in this championship, which is just run long, put your car completely full with fuel, just see where the ship ends up, and it just works for Clayton McLeod. He can do quite quick lap times now. He's doing 121s, while the drivers that he was fighting with actually doing a lot slower lap times, 125s, 129s actually for Lee Miller, who made a mistake last time around. Clayton McLeod will move forward in this pit stop rotation quite a bit because he can just run a lot longer than his rivals at the moment.
I want to go to 8th position and talk about this driver who's about to be lapped. This is Michael Overbay. Now, he may go a lap down, but remember, well, actually, he's going to go a lap down. As Overbay, both these cars have taken their pit stops. But Michael Overbay racing in 8th as he lets the leader go by. Having a great run. This is a little bit farther back than you would think. There's still some drivers in front that need to stop. But Overbay's had a nice, quiet race. Started in 8th. I think he's going to start himself up to about 6th.
Yeah, we saw him before. You had a big battle with Dave Peterson, Henkel, Miller, Haflidason, and he was just several seconds in front of them. He's driving a little bit in no man's land. Maybe Michael will say after the race that it's a little bit boring for him because he was not fighting with other cars on track. But he can really hot lap at the moment, and because he has already made his pit stop, just focus on bringing the car home. Newton putting Clayton McLeod under pressure on screen here. I would almost think that Scott Newton would try to make the move in Tamburella corner, but he cannot make it stick. And the Canadian, of course, doesn't have to let Scott Newton by. They're racing for position, even though one has made a pit stop. The other one has a Clayton McLeod making a mistake there on the exit of Ferrari Villeneuve on the outside. Scott Newton tries it. Tosa, this is a long corner to keep it around the outside. Clayton McLeod was losing it there on the exit. Scott Newton has to stay behind him. Clayton McLeod covering the exit, even though he made a small mistake and cannot go side by side through Piratella here.
2 opportunities for Newton, and he couldn't cash in on either one of them. Again, Newton's car really quick through the twisty section.
This will hurt him because he's losing a lot of seconds in this battle with Clayton McLeod. Maybe here on the exit of Variante Alta, Scott Newton tries to brake earlier, get on the throttle earlier. Cannot get a clean exit, however, out of Variante Alta towards Rivazza. He has to hope that Clayton McLeod will maybe make a pit stop. Clayton's car is, of course, very light at the moment. That will mean that his top speed is a little bit higher than Scott Newton, and Scott just cannot find a way past yet. Luckily for him, the Canadian is making his pit stop, but this will hurt Scott Newton because looking at his lap times, he was doing 20s, 21s. This time it's a 22.5, so losing around 2 seconds this lap fighting with Clayton McLeod.
With McLeod coming in, I'd like to pick up the drivers so we get around him. Michael Overbay would be the first one that has a chance. Overbay in 8th. And it's a chance for Peterson and Henkel to get him as well.
Looking at why Michael Overbay is at the moment, he's only going towards Rivazza at the moment. McLeod is already rolling again. There's around
Yeah.
50 meters in front of him before he's at the exit. I think it will be actually quite tight between him and Michael Overbay, who's coming out of the last corner now. Full throttle. Clayton McLeod is getting rolling again, but he of course is standing still. Look at that, the gap is actually really big, several hundred meters between Michael Overbay and Clayton McLeod, and the Canadian has won a lot of positions in this pit stop.
He was behind all those drivers before the pit stop. He was behind Overbay. Overbay was way out in front. He was behind Peterson and Henkel also. Hey, talking about Henkel, let's go to 10th. This is a fun battle. Henkel and Hoflidaisen.
Yeah, Hoflidaisen has been very quick. We've seen it. Maybe not as consistent as he wants to be. But he certainly has the speed over Stefan Henkel at this point of the race, putting him under pressure here in Tosa. Stefan Henkel sliding a little bit. Oh, they hit each other. Hoflidaisen too greedy there on the exit, getting too close. Give Stefan Henkel a bump. Now I hope for Stefan Henkel that he doesn't have rear wing damage, because he might have gotten that. I think that Hoflidaisen for sure will have some front wing damage after that.
We can stay on this battle, but I'll just report with our leader yet to pit. We only have 7 cars on the lead lap right now. And of course, Antonio Preveda out there running long.
The battle between Stefan Henkel and Michael Hoflidaisen continues here on the exit of Variante Alta. And I'll be curious to see if any of these drivers will have to go into the pits to repair their car after the heavy hit in Tosa. Hoflidaisen struggling to get his car slowed down there for Rivazza, losing quite a few car lengths. Both cars, luckily for them, can continue. And I think that they will, that after that contact goal, they will hurt the pace of especially Hoflidaisen, who will have a knock on his front wing now.
Yeah, if this battle continues, we can stay here because it's the best one on the track, but I think you nailed it. I think Henkel started to pull away.
And looking at the lap times between Antonio Ortiz-Preveda and Daniel Bucher, I think that the Spaniard is really making strides at the moment. He's doing 120s. 2 laps ago was a small hiccup when he did the 22.9, probably with some traffic, but the laps before that, all 1 minute 20s. Why is that important? Because Daniel Bucher is only doing 121s, so around half a second per lap Antonio Ortiz-Preveda is winning. And the gap between the two when Daniel Bucher made his pit stop was around 4 seconds. It means that when Antonio Ortiz-Preveda can keep driving these lap times, he will be side by side with Daniel Bucher when he comes out after his pit stop.
Bogey time was 35.6. That was the gap between Preveda and Bucher, between first and second. We'll see if that goes up or down as they come around one more time. Clearly, Preveda going to run it as long as he can. Oh, he's coming in now.
Cannot run it any longer, and he has to come in now. Now let's see, Daniel Bucher is coming out of Aqua Minerale at the moment. That means he has 1 chicane and 1 double left-hander to go before he is on the start-finish straight. Going to the Variante Alta now, as Antonio Ortiz-Preveda is nearly at his pit crew.
The good news for Preveda, being the driver qualifying third, his box is real close to pit exit.
He's rolling again. Daniel Bucher is coming out of the last corner though, as Antonio Ortiz-Preveda gets rolling. We saw this before with Clayton McLeod, Dave Peterson, I believe, where the gap was actually quite big. This time it's a lot smaller. Daniel Bucher is close enough to get that past. Scott Newton behind him though, only 5 seconds behind him. He cannot pass Antonio Ortiz-Preveda, so the Spaniard comes back in P2 with newer tires though than the leader.
This will be interesting. That gap closer than it was, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that Antonio Ortiz-Preveda has closed the gap with his pit stop strategy, but didn't close it enough to really try and move. Oh, it's the leader, Daniel Bucher in the wall! Out of Tosa, where we've seen so many cars make mistakes, Daniel Bucher isn't immune to that. He loops it out, hits the wall, loses 2 positions to both Antonio and Scott Newton. He can continue, but I think that he has damage on his car, maybe suspension damage as well. Going to a replay here, you can see him attack Tosa and we've seen it so many times, just too aggressive on the throttle, looping it around into the wall, and both his rivals passed him on the straight there on the exit.
So now the story changes. Now the attention falls on Scott Newton, who is only a second behind Preveda. Preveda is very fast, but so is Scott Newton.
Let's just see Daniel Bucher, he's coming. Yeah, he actually has to make a pit stop to repair his car. That will send him back even further. I think that Daniel Lurcher and Thomas Seeger might profit from that. That means that Daniel Lurcher will get a podium position here at Imola.
While there is a battle for ninth, I don't want to go there. I think our best battle right now, how about this one? The best battle on the track is right up front. Antonio Poveda and Scott Newton.
We were saying it in the track description, the battle between Michael Schumacher and Fernando Alonso here at Imola. Well, this time it's another Spaniard fighting in the battle for P1. This time he is leading. He's being chased down by Scott Newton. The gap is only 0.5 of a second now as they go through Aqua Minerale. Scott Newton is really in the warpath. He has the speed to get by Antonio Poveda, but it's so difficult to overtake here at Imola.
With apologies to the rest of the drivers, I want to stay on this one for a little bit, because this one is really exciting.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Daniel Bucher, our leader, has retired from the race after that spin. He had too much damage. He cannot continue. So that means that Daniel Lurchner has elevated himself to P3, Thomas Seeger to P4, Clemens Model is back in P5.
We've questioned Overbay's straight line speed, but let's see how good he is through this technical section here.
Yeah, only 0.5 of a second between them are going over start finish line. You can just see chewing away the car lengths as Antonio goes a little bit wider on the exit of Variante Villeneuve. Here Tosa, this is probably the most dangerous corner of them all, I would say. How many cars have looped it around there and hit the wall. You have to be really smooth there, and it's actually a weird point that the drivers are struggling so much there. There's not a strong wind going on at the moment, only 3 kilometers an hour, so it cannot be that, because the straight after it is not very long. It's not really a very do or die position of the track where you have to have a perfect exit or you're a sitting duck. It's actually, yeah, like I said, really strange position to see so many cars looping it around here today.
Now, clearly, it's always, when you watch a battle, the car behind always seems to close up at the corners. But, oh my goodness, I really think Newton is good under braking. He almost gets into the back of Poveda. And now, once again, Sisyphus has to keep pushing the boulder up. He's making his job harder than it needs to be, as that mistake's going to cost him about a whole second gap.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Scott Newton did this earlier in the race as well. He's just very strong under braking, also because he's a little bit greedy in the braking, and this time, just as we saw earlier in the race, he brakes with his tires on the grass, and to really save his car, he just has to slow down, bite the bullet, lose some seconds to not spin. But yeah, that hurt him because the gap between him and Antonio has increased quite a bit.
So with that settling down a bit, let's go to 8th, and I'll just recap what's going on here. This is Dave Peterson. He's got about 1.5 seconds on Stefan Hinkle. These guys have been close to each other for most of the race.
And the good thing though is Dave Peterson is actually quicker than Stefan Hinkle. Last time around it was around 1 second. Dave Peterson winning 10 positions so far. He's running away from Stefan Hinkle in P9. At the same time though, he's only 3 seconds behind Michael A. Overbay.
Right.
He's quicker than Michael A. Overbay as well. So I think that Dave Peterson will try to close the gap to Michael as soon as possible and try to get by him for P7.
We talked about Overbay and the race he was having. Very quiet. Really hasn't had anybody to race much after McLeod had an incident. He's in 7th, having a good run.
Clayton McLeod, how weird it sounds, is actually doing quite well out here today. His biggest rival, Joseph Fabian, didn't see, had some technical difficulties, couldn't make the start, and just coming home, P6 quite solidly. That will net Clayton McLeod a nice amount of points in his battle for the championship. But Antonio Ortiz Poveda, once again the Spaniard, is leading, and he's really making strides forward in the championship battle.
Before things heat up, maybe we can give a little love to some other drivers having a great race. How about the final podium spot? This is Daniel Lurchner as he gets around Johnny Bell lapping him. Daniel having a good run from 5th up to 3rd.
Yeah, exactly. He was having a good battle with Thomas Seeger before the pit stops. So after the pit stops, that gap between the two has broken up a little bit. There's currently 4 seconds between Daniel and Thomas. At the moment, Daniel is also a little bit quicker. He had some traffic last time around that hurt him, but he is a few tenths per second per lap quicker than Thomas Seeger at the moment. So it seems like he's consolidating his podium position at the moment.
11 cars on the lead lap. How about we give it a little love before we get back up to the leaders? The last one being Reed Miller in 11th. Won't be long, though, until the leaders get to him, and it's going to be interesting. Because that gap now is back down to his second for Newton. Newton's car is faster, Johan. It's just whether he can get around Fabeda.
Yeah, exactly. And just to reiterate on the traffic that you just mentioned, is Reed Miller is not driving alone. He's only 2 seconds behind Michael Haflidason. So it's not like Reed Miller is driving alone, doing some laps, and he can sacrifice his lap to let the leaders by. He is fighting as well. So it will be interesting to see that where the leaders will catch up to Reed Miller and if it will go smoothly.
Look at Miller. We should look out the back of Miller's car because almost on the same straight now, Preveda, and here comes Scott Newton. You can see him in the back. They're coming. Newton now has got to within, oh my goodness, he got it under a second again.
Yeah, he's quicker, but like you mentioned, Bill, can he find a way around? That will be really the most important question out here today. Reed Miller actually slows down in the exit here over Rivazza to let both cars by. Very, good driving from Reed Miller there. Yeah, very nice.
That is so cool. Reed probably realized he probably wasn't going to get up to Hoflidason up in 10th.
Just really quickly before this battle heats up for P1, there's also a battle going on for P7. Michael Overbay is being chased by Dave Peterson. Also, Stefan Henkel has found some speeds. It seems like Michael Overbay is the slowest of the three, and these drivers are just converging towards each other. Free-car battle heating up for P7.
Yeah. You're right, and I think the fastest car might be the one third in line, Henkel. And I think the slowest car is Overbay. That is really going to heat up here in the next 7 laps. I think they're all going to come together at the same time. All right, let's go back to the lead. It's down to 0.4 of a second.
Now, talking about heating up, there's just 3 car lengths between the two at the moment. Lap traffic in front of them, that's the Swedish driver Michael Haflidason. Just in front of them, but Scott Newton is really cutting down the deficit. Only 0.6 of a second at the moment, only 0.4 compared to last lap. He has to make sure that he doesn't make a mistake here in the exit of Rivazza. He's done it before, this time he's smooth. A little bit too far though, Bill, I think, to really try and move, but he is in the draft now and he'll be able to just move his way forward, cut down the gap even quicker than he normally does, and put Antonio under pressure in the infield section.
This is a textbook example of what my dad used to call trying to milk the rooster. The hard part starts after you catch it. Right now, Newton is there. He's just got to figure out a way around. Now, I've seen this happen, I would say maybe 3 or 4 times this race where he gets there and then he makes a mistake and he has to try it one more time. Hoflidason is not that far in front of these guys.
Just a quick update, Thomas Seeger has lost a position in P5 here. There's a mistake last time around. Clement's model overtook him, so Thomas Seeger is back to P5. But this battle, you're indeed right, Bill. Michael Haflidason is not that far in front. Now luckily, because Reed Miller sacrificed his lap a little bit, there's a gap between him and Michael Haflidason. Scott Newton is extremely close. Taking a look on the inside of Variante Alta. Chooses not to make the overtake, but Haflidason goes to the inside. Lets both car pass. Good driving there from Michael. Scott Newton is really close. He will not have an opportunity, I think, here on the inside of Rivazza. But on the exit, there is the biggest opportunity for Scott Newton to get the lead here. Antonio taking a slightly wider line on throttle. Scott Newton keeps it clean, but look at that. Antonio just taking more momentum with that wider line, winning several car lengths.
Fascinating. Just fascinating. This is where most cars would make the pass, but Newton, for whatever reason, is so slow off of Rivazza that he has no chance. He's got to do it through the difficult section. This is where Newton is really good.
look at just him closing in, especially here Tosa. This is probably, especially those two chicanes that you have, the Tamburello and the Villeneuve. That's where Scott Newton is quick. So then in Tosa, he has the best opportunity on the exit. Less than a car length going to Piratella. We haven't seen an overtake here, but Scott Newton is going to try it on the inside. He cannot make it stick. Antonio goes right, however, can't get it slowed down. Side by side, Scott Newton makes it stick before Aquinirale. We have a new leader. They hit each other though. They hit each other. Scott Newton gets looped around by Antonio Ortiz Poveda.
Okay. And Poveda is very slow after the contact, whether he's giving his position back or the car has damage. Let's watch this. He just kind of punts him.
Yeah, just brakes slightly too late. Just loops Scott Newton around. I can say that Scott Newton has taken back P1. I think that Antonio just gave him back the P1 position. Looks like the Spaniard is back up to speed. But this means, luckily for them, Daniel Bucher is already retired. Otherwise, he would be on their tail at the moment. Antonio Ortiz Poveda currently 1.2 seconds behind Scott Newton, the Australian, looking for a second victory of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to give the Spaniard the benefit of the doubt there and say that he did actually surrender the position, let Newton go by. Newton was clearly faster, so as he pulls away, maybe there's some damage to Poveda's car. We don't know. Go ahead.
Michael Overbay just had to spin at Tosa, the corner where we've seen so many drivers looping around, and he loses 2 positions to Dave Peterson and Stefan Henkel, who go to P8 and P7 respectively.
Overbay was having such a good run, but I believe that's just a little pressure. We thought that those guys were going to get to him. And before they did, the pressure got to him.
Yeah, exactly. In the meantime, the best battle, one of the closest battles that we have is the one between Dave Peterson and Stefan Henkel. Let's just see where they are. It actually seems like Stefan Henkel has found a way by Dave Peterson.
Well, that's what we thought. We thought that Henkel was going to be the fastest of the 3. So actually, it sorted itself out. Henkel, and then Peterson, and now did Overbay get out behind those guys? Yes, he did. He didn't lose a spot other than those 2.
Yeah, the reason for that is that Dave Peterson also had a mistake at turn 1 at this lap. He almost looped himself around. He saved it though. He lost quite a bit of time, and that gave Stefan Henkel the opportunity to get by him. So Stefan Henkel gaining 2 positions, not by overtaking people, but just profiting from the mistakes of others.
Johan, Poveda's car is slow, though. I would bet you if you check his lap times, his times are way off.
Yeah,
as we look at this battle with Overbay and Hofladezen, there it is again!
Just both too greedy there on the exit of Tosa. Hofladezen keeps it out of the wall. Michael Overbay hits the wall, though, has slight front wing damage, and also has to take a 3-point turn to get it back up to speed again.
We saw that between 2 other drivers. That's the same exact thing. It looked like a replay.
Yeah, Johnny Bell and Johnny Flicker. Yeah, exactly. Well, that gives Reed Miller the chance to get by Michael Overbay. It's really going bad to worse for Michael Overbay. He was driving in P7 and just 2 mistakes in consecutive laps relegates him 5 positions down the order.
So now we talked about Reed Miller. He is a lap down. Hofladezen has gone a lap down now, but let's see what Reed Miller can do with Hofladezen in this battle for 9th spot.
Reed Miller is in the draft now. He's getting closer and closer. Hofladezen defending the inside. He might actually have some overheated tires because of that spin. Defends the inside. That will hurt him on the exit here, I think. Reed Miller not able to profit from that and take a different racing line. Scandinavian driver stays in front now through Villeneuve. Let's see if Hofladezen can get a little bit extra speed, because it seemed at the end of the previous lap that Reed Miller was closing in through Tosa. Keep it straight this time, Hofladezen. He does. And on the exit, it seems that once again he just has found his normal rhythm again. He's driving slightly away from Reed Miller.
These guys battling for the lead of the cars that are 1 lap down.
And just reiterating something you said a few laps ago, Bill, Antonio Ortiz Poveda, his car is very slow at the moment. He's around 5-6 seconds slower per lap. He's not under threat of Daniel Lerchner in P3 though. The gap between the two is 30 seconds. With only 2 more laps to go, it's not enough time for Daniel to get by Antonio Tispoveda. Oh, as Reed Miller just went for a spin. Reed Miller just went for a spin in Variante Alta. Too greedy on the exit, hits the curb stones, loops it around, loses a position I think as well to Michael Overbay. No, doesn't lose a position but loses quite a bit of time and is better with Fleet Racing.
All right, we're going to look at Scott Newton. He comes across the line. He gets the white flag. He's working the white flag now. This is Dave Peterson he's got in front of him. Peterson in 8th. Newton's got 17 seconds back to Poveda. This has been a fascinating race. And honestly, it's not done yet. I'm not counting my chickens. Scott Newton's still got to get this car around.
As you said, that Clayton McLeod almost losing it in the last corner. Luckily for him, he's a little bit in no man's land between Thomas Seeger and Stefan Henkel. But as you say, the race isn't over until the Fat Lady sings.
Offladaisen spins again. Well, she's warming up her voice. Let's give round number 7 to Scott Newton. As Scott Newton wins the San Marino Grand Prix here, and the batteries not included, premier season. Antonio Poveda, the Spaniard, limps it home in 2nd. You know what? We just didn't say enough about Daniel Lerchner and the race that he had. Johan, just a solid podium.
Yeah, absolutely. Just not making the mistakes where a lot of other people did do it, and that just hands you a podium at the end of the race. Winning 2 positions, Daniel Lerchner comes home today here at Imola in P3.
One of the fastest cars out there is Clemens' model. He's going to come in 4th.
Thomas Seeger behind him. He was in the battle with Daniel Lerchner at the beginning of the race. He didn't have the pace at the end of the race though, especially after the pit stop, but still scores a top 5 position. Thomas Seeger coming home in P5. Clayton McLeod behind him finishes the race in P6. Stefan Henkel, one of the drivers that we've talked a lot about today, Bill. He has to set up a P7 in the end.
And then the last car on the lead lap, Dave Peterson. All right, the racing is over here in Italy, but our broadcast is far from done. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back, run down the entire finishing order, talk to some of the drivers before we put a lock on the gate. Back in a few. From Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, it's the Global SimRacing Channel's coverage of the San Marino Grand Prix Round 7 of the Batteries Not Included Premier Season Championship. This was a good one. Storylines, many different leaders, battles throughout the field. Let's give you the final standings right now. Scott Newton is coming away with the win. He comes home 20 seconds ahead of his nearest rival, but don't let that 20 seconds fool you. This was a dandy one. Antonio Preveda limps an injured car home in second. Daniel Lerkner in third. Clemens Model in the fourth position. Rounding out your top five, Thomas Ziegler. Then we go to the back half of your top 10. Clayton McLeod. This will be, even though it's sixth, will be still a pretty good points day in the championship as his rivals had trouble. Stefan Henkel, how about seventh position for him? Dave Peterson and Mr. Excitement, Mikael Halfledazen in ninth. Reed Miller in 10th. Johan?
Michael Overbay had a very strong race, but saw everything go a little bit bad at the end. He has to settle for P11 at the end of the race. And then there's a list of drivers that has had some misfortune as well. Johnny Bell, who had a simultaneous spin with Jerry Frukup in Tulsa, 4 laps down in P12. Sam Winton is classified in P13. Daniel Bucher, our race leader, the driver that we expected to win here today after a strong first part of the race, had a spin as well and had to retire with the damage. He's classified in 14th position. Tyler Gore comes home in P15. Jerry Frukup, we just named him, comes home in 16th. Christian Kabanga, one of the first drivers who had an incident out there today, is classified in 17th. In front of Aitor Cintas Galindo in 18th position and Dave Friels in 19th. And Joseph Fabian is not a retiree today. He has a DNS, did not start, but still classified in 20th position.
All right, and now I have the pleasure of getting to talk with our race winner. We're going to bring Scott Newton in here. I have so many questions to talk to Scott about. Let's start, first of all, Scott, with the battle early on with Clemens Model. My gosh, that was exciting. Your car was so fast through the twisty sections and honestly kind of slow down the straight.
Yeah, hey, Bill. Yeah, that was unfortunately the case. I knew that I was a lot quicker in the middle part of the lap, but unfortunately, yeah, Clemens just running that little bit lower downforce trim and ultimately had the top end gearing on me. So I had to get the run on the inside into a turn one, and I potentially threw it up a little too deep, but there was no netcode or any contact on my end. So I don't know whether it was just Clemens lighting up the rears or anything like that, but yeah, unfortunately, that was the way that went. But yeah, I just had to avoid running up the back of Clemens as well, because even in the dirty air, you lose a little bit of the track with the braking markers. So yeah, it was certainly tough to get past Clemens, but thankfully I managed to do so.
And we could talk all day because your race was so exciting. We're going to jump to the end. How about the battle with Preveda there? Again, similar situation where you had to make the pass on the back half of the track.
Yeah, definitely. I knew that looking at the times leading up to that, it was about 3 or 4 tenths a lap difference, even though that Preveda had 6 lap fresher tyres. And going into lap 37, it was probably like 3 or 4 tenths back. And I managed to get a solid run out of Tozer. And I was far enough up the inside into Piratella, and I think Preveda just broke just that little bit too deep and run a little bit wide, which allowed me through. But I don't know whether he misjudged that braking on the entry to Aqua Minerale. But yeah, it was certainly unfortunate for him to end that way. He certainly did a great drive and at least was able to challenge for the win. But it was just a little bit unlucky for him that I got the better of it.
Well, Scott, look, I think you've raced twice. You have 2 wins. This series has 4 drop races. What is your Saturday evening like in Australia? Can you make an assault on the champion, or are you just part-time in this?
Unfortunately,
actually,
I'm part-time.
What time is it actually in Australia right now? Maybe I got that wrong. Friday morning? Friday night? What is it?
At the moment, it's 12:30 in the morning, Sunday morning.
Sunday.
So
Okay. Got it.
yeah, so yeah, unfortunately, I'm part-timing this one due to the fact that next week I'm probably going to end up working on the Sundays. So yeah, it's an early start for me. So unfortunately, I can't make the next one, which being Montreal. But I don't think it's a very, very, very strong track for me. So thankfully, it's on the back of my mind, and I can focus on the race in 2 weeks.
Well, it's a pleasure to watch you race whenever you can. We look forward to having you stop in. Stop in whenever you can, and let's see if we can get another win next time.
Yeah, definitely. Cheers for that, Bill, and cheers to the organisers as well for putting on this awesome league. It's great to get back into this all-day class F1, and I hope to see you all in about 2 weeks.
Good job. This commentator has no idea if it's Friday or Sunday in Australia. I don't know. I believe it is October where they are, but I think it's summertime. Who knows how it works down there? Johan, who you got?
I got P2 out there today, Antonio Ortiz Poveda. Antonio, welcome to the booth. I want to start by saying congratulations. What a battle you had for the victory today. Tell us a little bit from your perspective.
Thank you, guys. It was a very difficult race. I started really with loads of fuel, and I knew I didn't have the pace I had in Kota. Fighting even for the podium was going to be complicated if Joseph was in, who couldn't race, and it's a shame. I saw Clemens behind, holding Scott, which was perfect for me. I knew that Daniel was going to pull away because of fuel and because of a little bit more pace. And yes, I could hold Scott lots of laps at the start of the race behind. Then when everyone stopped, I had 8 more laps of fuel, and it was the chance for me to go for the lead. But I had loads of back markets, and one mistake, I jumped on chicane. I had a slowdown. When I went out of the box, I was 3 seconds behind Daniel. Otherwise, I could have been in front of him. But then I had this battle with Scott. He put a lot of pressure on me, which was great. And yeah, then I made a mistake. I went too wide. He went for the inside. And then the next corner, I messed it up. I didn't even want to overtake, because in that corner you can overtake. I just went way too deep. I broke way too late. But yeah, after that, I waited for him because I thought it was the best thing I could do, to wait for him and let him pass. It wasn't fair for me just to run away and win after hitting him and taking him out. So yeah, second place is great, far more than I expected. And yeah, maybe we can try to have a run out for the championship.
Yeah, well, very respectful driving, especially with getting Scott Newton back to the position after that contact. Now, what you mentioned at the end, that was certainly my next question. Looking at the championship, you had a great race. Joseph Fabian didn't participate. You finished well in front of Clayton McLeod. Are you looking for that P1 position in the championship? Do you really think that that's the goal for this season?
I just heard from you guys that the 4 worst results are taken out, right?
Yeah, true. 4 drop weeks.
Okay, I didn't know that, so it was impossible, but maybe now it's going to be possible. I mean, I've got like 2 zeros, and the first race I couldn't race, and I've got 2 more races in which I'm probably not going to race because I've got some appointments. For 1 0, if I take 4 out, then yeah, maybe possible. Yeah, why not?
Well, very good. Well, you at least made your mark once again here today at Imola with scoring a podium position. Enjoy the champagne, Antonio, and we hope to see you again next week.
Thank you very much.
That's Antonio Ortiz Poveda coming home in P2 here at Imola. Now, in the meantime, you've caught up with another driver, Bill. I think it's Michael Haflidason.
I do, Michael Haflidason. What an exciting race you put on. I think you were finally getting a feel for the car at the very end of it. I think we do a double header. You might win this thing, Michael.
Maybe. Can we reverse top 10? Maybe I can be closer.
Boy, you made a lot of mistakes out there, but you passed a lot of cars too.
Hey, I jumped in the car 2 minutes before qualifying start. Did you expect anything else? Nobody was... Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead. What corner gave you the most trouble?
Everybody. All the corners.
You had a synchronized spin there near the end of the race where I think you were racing. Was it Reed Miller you were racing with, where both of you guys spun at the same time?
Yeah, can't remember what corner. In the beginning, before the climb, I can remember him disappearing from my screen. So when I spun, I thought just he got away, and then I saw, oh wait, he's standing right there also. So I don't really know what happened actually.
Okay, I've seen you race in the Skippy. I see you now racing the Formula Renault over in the ABL, and now here in the Williams. Do you like the Williams?
Well, I've only had the race, like I just jumped in, did the qualifying, and then I did the race. So that's why I was so inconsistent. But yeah, it's a really nice car. I will try to do the rest of the season. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, well, look, any series benefits when you're around and you're racing in it because you're a fun driver to watch. You race clean and you race exciting. It's great to see you over here. Hope to see you back, and we will see you tomorrow in the ABL. Will you be there for that one?
Of course. Why not?
Of course.
I'm gonna win. I'm gonna redeem myself from last race.
You are due for one soon. Michael Hoflades, and always a great interview. Thanks for coming in, and congratulations on a top 10 finish.
Thank you very much.
He's a fun guy to talk to. Okay, I believe that's going to do it for us, and that means we'd like to thank all the people that make this possible. How about we thank Clayton McLeod for organizing this series, and for Batteries Not Included for coming out here to put on a great show, and we really appreciate it. We're happy to be part of the whole series here on GSRC. We'd like to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. You can see those listed on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ecklum and June Lalonde for providing us with our music. See the screen to how to get hold of more of their great work. Hey, did you like this race? Well, we're doing it again in 1 week. Batteries Not Included will return. It'll be for round 8, and that's going to be from Montreal. You don't want to miss it. GSRC will be there. You hope to join us. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, visit globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media, on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. All the upcoming races for all of our series are listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar so you don't miss a second here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. If you haven't done so already, be one of the 7,000 plus subscribers. Hit that red subscribe button here on our YouTube channel. That'll do it for now. So until next time, I'm off to go storm the castle. Race hard, race clean. We'll see you on the track.